teams because of maybe some of the mistakes they've made, the long games we've seen, the amount of team fighting that they both seem to favor. And thus far, no surprises here. Vi and Pantheon banned out against River, and then we have that good old Rumble ban sticking on the 100 Thieves side, and Poppy and Yone to follow.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting series because I think, when you're looking at it just kind of on paper, you feel like 100 Thieves, surely they're pretty heavily favored, right? You know, pound per pound, player for player. But then you talk to a lot of people that have actually been scrimming these teams. I mean, Spawn got interviewed yesterday. His team is actually awaiting the winner of this series, and he was saying he thinks Shopify is actually in much better form right now.
Yep, Shopify obviously getting the better of 100 Thieves last time around. We've talked about it plenty. 100 Thieves players have talked about it multiple times, how they feel like they should have been in the upper bracket. They should have had a chance to not even be in this lower bracket competition. But with Varus being the final ban on the side of Shopify, it is important to note that 100 Thieves is going to go for all reliable, the Taliyah pick, a staple in mid these days.
It absolutely is, but it's interesting because two of the most common pairings are actually banned out. The Pantheon and the Vi both taken off the table. Of course, you can pair it with something like Jhin, but there is an opportunity to potentially try to take that away if Shopify want to. Instead, they are looking for the Senna and Nautilus. Really popular duo these days. That is kind of like the primo pairing with Senna down in the bottom lane. Of course, Senna did get buffs to the souls you get from the minions that you kill, so that has kind of pushed it back into the AD carry role. It is a heavy scaling pick, but it is a powerful one.
Over on the other side for 100 Thieves, though, they're going to lock in the Naafiri for River. This is not just a lock-in on a powerful pick for 100 Thieves themselves. Oh. This is a denial to Contractz, who has very much favored the Naafiri many times. It has been banned away from him many times, and 100 Thieves are going to shut that down while also blind picking the Gwen for Sniper.
Yeah, this is super interesting to me, not just the Gwen pick, but then River locking in the Fury, because I think he, too, has had some insane games on it. And
I think he's the best Naafiri in the league.
Yeah, it already goes well with everything they picked. We see the Jhin coming through for Contractz on the opposite side.
The Jhin choice is really interesting to me because when they blind the Gwen, you're basically posing the question, like, what do you care more about, the counter pick or a high priority jungle pick, right? And they've chosen that they do decide to go to jungle here. This allows now 100 Thieves to be able to actually throw some bans to protect Sniper in the top lane on that Gwen. Things potentially like Jax that you might not want to be laning against are going to be able to be taken off the table.
And then on the other side, we see the Smolder banned out. I think it's interesting, in particular, with the early pick Senna against 100 Thieves specifically. We've kind of identified FBI as one of our key Senna players in the league. And then taking the Smolder away from him as well, because they remember the last series. They probably also remember how far ahead he got, or not how far ahead, but how much damage he was doing, right, in that game, so they're just taking it off the board.
And I also really specifically like it as a matchup into the Senna, because Senna is kind of this slower scaling pick. You can actually go Smolder and just kind of scale alongside and often outscale what they're going to do, so I do think it is a good ban either way. Annie going to be taken off the table is interesting. Obviously, you wanted some sort of an AP pairing there. It does look like their draft is fairly aggressive here with the Zhao, with the Nautilus, so Annie could work well with it and is going to be targeted as a result.
Yeah, and it's another one of those champs similar to the Yone that we always see banned against Palafox that just has that big combo AoE potential in a team fight. They want to stop the ability to just play the simplest, most direct type of team composition, just big engage 5v5 team fight. The Alistar banned away with one left to go here and the clock running out. Will 100 Thieves continue to target the mid lane, or do they want to give one of those protection bans toward the top side? Nope, it's double mid as Ahri is removed.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because you are blinding the Gwen. You're not giving any protection bans there to Sniper. Instead, they're going to try to focus on Palafox here and try to potentially put him down. This is the matchup that I think a lot of people are thinking is potentially the biggest mismatch. Quid, did get even a lot of first team votes for All-Pro, did end up getting second team, and Palafox looked at as one of those weaker parts of the Shopify team right now. And it's going to be Gnar, so not like a counter by any means, but kind of just an answer, something that is going to be able to fit well into the composition.
Yep, and they are saving that mid counter pick for their fifth pick, as we see the Jhin coming through for FBI, and Alistar is pretty much the only thing removed off the table for Eyla, in addition to the Pantheon. We'll see, yep, okay, so just Jhin, Leona. Again, Senna's laning phase doesn't feel great. We'll just put it that way. So they can get a little aggressive if they want to in this 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, I think Senna, you know, in the 2v2, it's so much just about like, how many pass-through Qs can you hit. If you can constantly hit those Qs through the minions, you know, poke and prod them down, then sometimes you can whittle down their HP to a point where you can get control. But because your wave clear is so poor, you rarely are going to be in that situation, and you know, unless you can really kind of be outplaying. And Palafox here going towards the Ryze, so it is going to be able to give them some ability to play through the side lanes heavily on. And I think, you know, that is going to be what their answer is to this Gwen later as far as the split push potentially. You can go to the side lane, go towards wave clear. It also allows you to try to match the roams that Quid is going for. Obviously, Taliyah with that semi-global. Ryze can try to match, though Realm Warp obviously isn't going to have that same range early on.
Also, if that's going to be your answer going into the Gwen later on in 1v1 split push type of situations, Gwen's not going to want to itemize any type of MR early on, considering you're up against a Gnar and a Zhao duo top lane jungle combination. Could give him a bit more of an edge than he otherwise might have in that type of scenario. But I got to ask you guys now, with the clock about to run out, which draft are you favoring?
I mean, I think the big thing for me is how much do I trust 100 Thieves to be able to play side lanes, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like we talk about their team fighting, but when I really felt like they were doing the best, it was actually when they were able to send Sniper or Quid to split push and then make the most of that off of like a 4-1 situation, right? With Shopify's composition, I do think we get to a point in the game where Senna just scales so well, right? You have the Ryze who gets not only does a lot of damage, but is very tanky and able to join up to the fight whenever. So if this game gets really long and dragged out in a lot of these 5v5 fights, it'll be interesting to see what Shopify's comp can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really interesting. I feel like both teams kind of got what they wanted. 100 Thieves, obviously, yeah, you do have the Gwen, so you could be playing through sides, but at the same time, they have a lot of ways to create action, which is what this team wants to do. I think they want to have a chaotic game. You have Leona, you have Taliyah, you have Naafiri, champions that can really get in there and start fights and create that chaos. And on the other side, while Shopify does have really good scaling, I agree, you have the Ryze, you have the Senna. The question is, can they actually close out a game if they get that advantage? Because that has been their struggle all split long.
Those questions and more about to be answered as we make our way onto the Rift here for the first time today in this best-of-5 elimination match between 100 Thieves and Shopify Rebellion. Winner goes on to continue their quest to try to make it to finals, but the loser, their competitive split is over until they'll get another shot in split 3, of course. But let's go ahead, see how we're starting off here. Both sides placing down a ward around the chicken pit of Shopify Rebellion with an additional deep ward around the red buff of 100 Thieves from the Shopify side.
Yep, and they'll just want to track both junglers here. Contractz in particular, someone who's shown that if he can go for an early lane gank, he will. I don't expect it because I keep disappointing myself and wanting it to happen, but it's something we've seen do in the past.
Best I can do is 6 camp clear scuttle base.
Well, I was going to say for Contractz specifically, the play that I'm always looking at in this split is the level 3 second buff invade. I feel like that is the Contractz special this time around, and you've always got to be mindful of that when you're jungling against this guy.
Yep, and we'll see how these lanes end up. I don't actually expect a lot of early action out of the junglers for as much as I keep saying, like, I want it. I think we'll just get some pretty standard clears here.
And last time these two teams did meet up, it was a Shopify win, but it was also a very crazy, chaotic series. Yeah. We had so many objectives getting stolen back and forth. You know, Contractz and River stealing objectives back and forth, and then even Fudge getting one with an auto attack later on. The funny thing was, the team that stole the objective kept losing the game. So like every time, you know, Contractz would get a huge steal, you're like, that's going to be the game-deciding play, and then they lose. And then River gets a massive steal, and then they lose. So it was really a chaotic, action-packed game. Both these junglers play, I think, kind of like a similar style. They like to really be in their opponent's face and kind of make things happen, which just makes for a really fun series to watch.
And it looks like both of them are going to find themselves in the same area of the map here as they're completing the second half of these full clears. We'll see if that leads to a scuffle over the scuttle as Palafox and Quid still fight for priority over this mid lane. Honestly, very even standing between the two, but it is Quid with slightly higher health and mana values right now. Checking in on the bottom lane immediately, Eyla wants to try to engage here on Seos, take advantage of that early weak laning phase of the Senna that you guys were talking about earlier as FBI and Eyla take priority over the lane.
Yep, and I mean, that's kind of what we expected here as we see a Sniper and Fudge going at it. That's one of the more interesting matchups to me as we see
Ooh, we're scrapping
Seo's
quite a bit
going
down
low.
here. Seo's at about 200 HP. Flash in from Eyla for the first blood. 100 Thieves in the 2v2 strike true.
And that's exactly what they wanted out of the Jhin Leona lane, right? Like, not only do they want to be able to take control of the wave, but it's a kill lane. Like, they want to be able to jump on this Senna. They want to be able to jump, in this case, on the Nautilus early, really, really get those early advantages. And I think it is important for the game going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Seos, I think, just kind of underestimated the damage a little bit here. He's the one going forward. He does actually land the hook onto FBI, but FBI has that third shot, has the fourth shot. They're able to chain the stun into a root, land the fourth shot, and then Eyla just flashes forward as the Q comes back up for a restun. They have the Q bounce from the Jhin. They're able to finish him off, and Seos didn't flash out.
I feel like sometimes in these 2v2s against other tanks, Nautilus comes across as more of a LARPer than a true tank. He can pretend to be
He's got
one.
the styrofoam armor.
He can wear armor that
you
looks
gotta
like
do that
one.
to him.
But then you put him next to somebody who really is a tank, like Leona, and you see that it's not the real, genuine article. And that's a bit of what we got right there with Seos biting off more than he could chew with that dredge line. He pays the price for it, and 100 Thieves will happily take the freebie kill.
I mean, this is one of those weaknesses of Senna as well, to be clear, is that it's like, Senna is not going to win generally 100-0 all-in play. Like, the damage is more about poke. It's more about taking short trades and then sustaining up by queuing through the Nautilus and poking down your opponent. So when you hook in onto the Jhin, you think, wow, this is really going to be great for us. But Bvoy wasn't really in a place to actually follow up too heavily, and it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of saw him standing there, right? Like, there wasn't much he could do. That's not a knock on him. It's just the way the matchup goes.
Ooh, let's see if River can get in the face of Contractz here. The chicken camp, highly contested between junglers that like to play aggressively and in your face like you were talking about earlier. It's a sad reality, though, for everybody's favorite hot dog. Those chickens have already been taken as he was a little bit late to arrive, so Contractz can just go back to his own farming path. As we check in on this topside matchup that we are so curious about how it's going to play out throughout this entire series. Sniper with the first pick, or not the first pick, but first picking his champion first. There we go. I finally got there. I'm really curious to see how well he'll be able to do against Fudge, who has been having a real renaissance in the second half of the split.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Fudge really had stepped up. He was my vote for third team All-Pro. I do think, he was looking good, and especially, let's be frank, it's a lot harder to look good when a team is struggling and not getting a ton of wins, and that was kind of the case for Shopify, but even in many of their losses, I think Fudge was a standout. Sniper, though, obviously doing well in this 1v1 for now. He did go Grasp, he rushes Tabbies, so he's not playing to dominate the lanes by any means. He's just playing to survive, to scale, and to look to go forward. Okay, we've got a potential 3v3 down here in the bot side river. Azael has got to be careful. Contractz is first into the mix. A Realm Warp is about to arrive as well. Palafox grabbing the kill on Eyla as Contractz tries to get away, but it's a one-for-one trade as the aggro now turns back onto River, and he'll be removed from the rift by Bvoy. Now FBI's got to try to get away, but Shopify Rebellion are not looking to let him get there. A little bit more damage will do it, and Palafox is getting paid. Shopify Rebellion win the fight. 3 kills to 2 on the board. And that's huge for Shopify, right? Especially with Palafox getting in, really making a difference in that early skirmish. 100 Thieves are the team that really want to be winning these early skirmishes, and it's them who actually get the first setup onto this Drake. But because Eyla ends up going so low here, Contractz is able to get in. You said that Seos was a LARPer, but he actually ends up... Nautilus.
The champion was LARPing. This man is in there with all his heart. Yeah, exactly. He ends up surviving, right? And it's huge. He's not LARPing at all. And they're able to chase down FBI on the backside of it. I mean, again, the big thing there is really how Palafox got involved early. Absolutely, and the fact that Eyla had no flash, right? They know that they can commit onto him. Eyla has no choice, but either they just give him up and accept that the fight is lost, or he goes in and they just commit to it. But Shopify, they did lose in the upper bracket. They did get 3-0, but if you didn't watch the series, that does not really tell the whole tale. It was the longest 3-0 series in NA history all time. That is not just LTA, that is LCS as well, as Fudge is going to have to use his ultimate to get out of there. And it was very, very competitive. Games 2 and 3 as well. I feel like Shopify easily could have won those games, especially Game 2. They were in a heavily winning position. They just struggled to close it out. But it honestly kind of gave me more faith that going up against some of the weaker teams in the lower bracket, they can actually do some damage. Yeah, I think the big thing here, again, is compositionally that
winning that early fight is huge for them. And then the thing to look out for Shopify as that longest 3-1, we need to hit, I think, 52-minute average game time or something like that.
We're not aiming for that.
Hope you two are ready. But the
We're
thing
aiming
that
for the longest 5-game series.
the thing that I want Shopify to be ready for is to be able to close out their games. Like, you hear this from their own players, you hear it from us. The problem we have is not even getting into good positions or having good team fights. It's actually closing out the game with a win.
And Fudge actually said that on stage when I was interviewing him just earlier. He was talking about how this week that was exactly what their team was focused on in practice. Like, they clearly know this is the issue. You know, he was saying that they were scrimming against FlyQuest, so obviously a very tough opponent. But it is going to be concerning here that Ryze gets those early kills. Ryze is one of these champions that scales really well, and you build so tanky that if you get ahead of the pace of the game, sometimes you just feel kind of invulnerable.
Okay, River wanted to start up the grubs, but Shopify Rebellion's going to arrive in time to stop him from claiming any of them early on, but he still wants to see if maybe he can get one of them in smite range, but no, not quite. The patience lost on all three of the grubs as Contractz, Bvoy, and Seos will now take control over the pit. They want to try to secure this first one without the smite, make sure that they still have that to fight for the remaining ones. They will do just that. One grub over to Shopify, as now they're going to continue to look for the next. It's everybody from Shopify already here. First two grubs down, no smite used. This should be a 3-grub play for the Rebels, but what is the cost after? Seos wants to go in, but he ain't gonna find it. Eyla with the counter engage, but now he's all alone. Shopify Rebellion with a full-on 5v5. Fudge taken very low, but he ain't dead yet. River trying to get away now as well. Into the back line goes Sniper to find the kill onto Fudge, as River stays alive too, and 100 Thieves just hit him straight in the mouth. The grubs might have gone the way of Shopify Rebellion, but the Thieves have a cleaner 5v5.
Yeah, that was almost a little too late from 100 Thieves, as we see Palafox might be in trouble. No, he's going to escape. But the big thing there for me is I was unsure as to when they actually wanted Quid to back, right? Because he was bot pushing up on that wave. He backed, then TP'd into mid, and was almost too late for that fight, but it ended up being a really good setup for them.
Yeah, I mean, they do win the fight, but at the same time, you gave over the grubs. I think they wanted to contest. They were just too slow. I mean, Quid, like you said, he wanted to buy before he actually teleports in, so he bases, he teleports, and then he still has to ult to even get here, so the grubs are already gone. 100 Thieves spent a lot of time in the area, but Sniper got a lot done as they come in with this Taliyah wall. They kind of get sectioned off, but we're back to live.
Something's got to be happening, and it's River in danger. Flashes over the wall to barely escape. One more auto attack from even the Dragon would have finished the job there, but Shopify Rebellion are going to take control over this pit. They got all three of the grubs. Now they're going to grab this Drake too for neutral objective control.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it is really interesting to see that it's been Shopify since that initial first Drake contest who have been first to a lot of these objectives, as Palafox might be in trouble down here.
Yeah, Palafox in some danger as he tries to escape the solar flare from Eyla. Still has to end up flashing. If that Zenith Blade would have caught him, could have been in some serious danger of dying to Quid's damage.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing is, though, that he already has Roa, right? Like, he's already pretty tanky
Early game
for
Roa
this
is like a
point in the
six-item
game.
Malphite. You're not dying.
Exactly. This is just a 6-item Malphite.
Yep.
There you go.
All right, let's see what we're going to get next. With Bvoy and Seos now taking up position here in the mid lane. FBI just farming it back against Bvoy, who is at 33 stacks on the Senna. Again, this champion recently receiving buffs to make it so it's much easier to get the souls to spawn when you're playing the farming mode. Has a lot more people playing the champion in that role once more. Static Shiv, pretty much always the first item these days to guarantee that you can have a little bit more wave clear since your baseline is just, well, not impressive.
Exactly. I mean, that's why people always are pretty much going to go on it. These days, it is basically always Shiv into IE is kind of what people are going for. Obviously, you do get a lot of crit from your passive, the Soul Collection as well. And then when you get over 100% crit, you're getting lifesteal from that. So you do get a lot of value out of it. Palafox, we've seen him, getting hit by a lot of these trades, but again, because you build so tanky early on the Ryze, he's going to get early Merc Treads. He's going to be working in towards his Archangels, and he is going to be almost impossible to kill unless there's an overwhelming amount of damage. It just allows the Ryze to really play so in your face, which is how you have to play if you want to get a lot of damage out in team fights, and that is why it's so advantageous to get these early kills, because it just accelerates you that much further when you have to commit to multiple stacking items on the Ryze.
Yeah, it was actually so huge for Palafox to be able to get into a lot of these early skirmishes. The interesting thing for 100 Thieves, or the thing to watch from them, I think is going to be potentially how they do set up side lanes with the Gwen, who is in a good spot, and then also Quid, right? Because with the Taliyah wall, he can join fights pretty easily in it, as well as the Ryze. So I'm curious to see how those two mid laners match each other and what these lane assignments are end up being. Right now, they're both on the bot side, and Quid is about to back after shoving in the wave.
Okay, we still got a very modest gold lead for 100 Thieves, right? Only about 400, 500. Rift Herald is going to spawn in about 1 minute. It has been 100 Thieves controlling none of the neutral objectives so far, so we'll see if that slight gold advantage can give them more of an opportunity to contest this next one here. As you can see, the average stacks for Senna at different points in the game. 49.5 is the number to beat. Bvoy at only 37, a little bit behind the mark.
And I think this would also, I'm assuming, include support, because support generally does have kind of that higher stacking rate. But you know, he's doing all right, and we will see. You know, it's generally, if you can skirmish pretty heavily, and especially if there is melee champions like melee supports that don't have high threat, you can kind of farm a lot of souls off them in the earlier stages of the game.
All right, 15 seconds till Rift Herald spawns. You can see a lot of vision controlling this topside river for the side of Shopify Rebellion. Contractz tries to throw out a quick win, becomes lightning, doesn't find a lot of targets here. Wants to protect this control ward, but can't do it. FBI and Eyla with enough control over the area. As Fudge and Sniper, keep your eyes on both these guys. Teleports are ready, ults are ready, flashes are ready for both of them. So we'll have to check on the timing if a fight does break out, who can get involved in a more effective way. Quid and Palafox both in the bottom lane right now. Their ults are ready, but they still have a long way to go to be able to reach up here with those. Teleports can also be used as Bvoy is forced back temporarily down below half health, half mana as 100 Thieves move up to look to control the river.
Yeah, we'll have to see how effective FBI is going to be too, because he did go Ghostblade here, so it is going to be a much later IE, but you are on that strong one-item spike right now with that Ghostblade, and we'll see if they can actually get in a position to contest, because again, Quid's down bot lane, so even if they go for it, they're going to be very late, and it feels like this time they are just going to give it up. Sniper is basing, Quid is just now TPing, so actually they're going to try to contest, but it's too late.
Okay, River's stepping up, but the Herald already slain and claimed by Contractz and Shopify Rebellion. Defensive Jhin ulti immediately, though, as the engage comes out from Eyla. Sayas is about to die already, and now Contractz in the middle of 5 will not survive. Double kill over to the Wolf as Palafox has to head for the hills.
No flash.
Rivers in the pit chasing after him, and now the Ryze is dead as well. 100 Thieves, they reprise their earlier performance. Shopify might get the objective, but they're looking at it from the graveyard.
Exactly, we've seen this one before. They're late for the objective, they're just on time for the fight. 100 Thieves able to come in here. They have Sniper coming from that top side again on the solo flank. He forces the flash out from Bvoy. Fudge kind of has to retreat, and then he just turns and collapses with the rest of the team onto Zhao, onto Contractz, and onto Palafox, who has no ult to get out, who has no flash to get out. He is just a sitting duck in the pit.
Yeah, the big thing is getting that kill onto Palafox, right?
I think for like the Grubs and Herald fights, we're just giving them too much space and we're just letting them kind of go on us. But to be honest, it doesn't really seem like we're winning the skirmishes.
I would agree.
I would agree with that.
Yes, I concur with that assessment. The skirmishes are not going the way of the Rebels, and now, unfortunately, the cost has been made evident as they are down 2,500 gold.
Yeah, they are down a lot, and now it is time to problem solve for that, right? So if they all agree, all right, it's not a misplay, we just don't win the fights, then you have to think about, all right, how do we actually play out the rest? And that is generally going to mean more towards the side lanes. You can see immediately Fudge in the top lane, Palafox in the bot lane, and I think we might see them commit more heavily to that. Park Bvoy mid, try to look for 1v1s where the Senna ult can actually make a difference in that, or you can find an overloaded side and really kind of try to push back. And they are able to take the tier 1 top immediately, so they are getting some of that gold a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's going to be big for them because they do now kind of want to wait it out, right? Like they want to, again, be able to focus on side lanes, but then also their comp does scale better. And I like this play from them, right? Just responding on top side, dropping Herald up here. Sniper is not going to be able to defend
a lot
this.
Of gold.
Yeah, nicely done from Shopify to get a massive surge of gold to bring this game back to a much closer state than it was. That 2,500 gold lead, has been cut in half.
Yeah, and if you look at where the gold lead is, it's almost entirely here, right? Those numbers almost match
Good
each
place
other.
to be.
Yeah,
I will say.
so
Naafiri getting fed usually means good things.
So I think the big thing for me now for 100 Thieves when we're looking at how they're winning these fights is River getting in, and also I do think Sniper, to your point, has been doing
Bvoy in some
dead.
danger immediately. River diving in on top of him with the help of Eyla and FBI to get a quick kill on the Senna.
Exactly like that. I was gonna set it up, but no. River just killed someone for me
River
instead.
did it first.
Shopify scrambling to try to defend the tier 1 turret now, though, as another wave of minions from 100 Thieves about to crash into that. Down to about 1/3 HP on the mid lane tier 1, but top side, it's Sniper putting in an equal amount of work on that tier 1, and nobody from Shopify is around to stop him. So as soon as the Gwen takes that, the gold lead is right back up to almost 3,000.
Yeah, and it was a nice job, again, while they're trying to push on mid, knowing that Sniper is up on that top side, can take that top tier 1. And again, he's in a really good position, and I think they've been doing a good job of where he's been flanking to get into a lot of these fights. He's been a really crucial difference maker in them.
Bvoy actually elected to go for the Black Cleaver second, so a little bit more utility there. They have a lot of physical damage and might be able to actually get Quid here.
Oh, if that last Q would have hit, he could have been in such a solid spot to make this happen. Fudge still wants it. He's going all the way forward. And the Fudge factor is there for the kill of the enemy mid laner, but now they got to be careful. Contractz stuck in a bad spot as Sniper arrives to cut him up, and it looks like Shopify is still going to have to settle for just a 1-for-1.
It is a 1-for-1, but they do get the shutdown. Fudge getting a lot of gold there, and they're pushing up on top side as well. FBI had to roam down, so they're not pushing mid. They're not actually pushing top. They will have time to catch that because there's no tier 2 for those minions to die to. But still, good play there from Shopify. Winning through sides is one of the ways that they can actually break open this game. I talked about it. If you're losing in the skirmishes, you need to be able to have an advantage in those side lanes to put pressure on there. And thus far, are able to do it.
Okay, we're checking in on the Senna again because we're hitting that last marker there. Average stacks at 20 at just about 73. Bvoys are at 49, so he's only at 2/3 of the expected value.
He hasn't really been involved in a lot, right? Like, it feels like the only fights he's really been involved in, he's kind of just running away or he's throwing his ultimate across the map and things like this. So hasn't really been able to skirmish very heavily.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we kind of, I believe it was you that pointed out, Azael, in the Shopify FlyQuest series was Shopify being able to send Bvoy to collect sidewave gold, right? And try to keep him in those games where FlyQuest did a much better job with Masu, making sure that he was able to get that sidewave gold. So we'll see how they try to get Bvoy further into a good position, because as we know, Senna can just absolutely take over games late.
So also, this gold lead is a little bit deceptive for how it is right now in the game, because I wanted to mention this as we looked up top and saw Palafox farm like 3 or 4 of the little flowers. It's 6 flowers for the side of 100 Thieves to 25 for Shopify Rebellion. That type of a difference usually happens after a team claims Otacon, but he's still alive on the map.
I mean, that's what happens when your team has push in all the lanes, right? When you have push, you can collect all the flowers. When you're winning the lanes, you get to collect all the flowers. It's 19 adaptive force and 500 experience for Shopify compared to 120 XP, 5.7 adaptive force. So it is quite a bit of an advantage right now. You know, it's more than a long sword. You know, it is a pretty nice edge across the board. And like you say, it is something that's not showing on the screen.
Right. It's one of those things that could make the next fight closer for Shopify than we might think. But again, going back to what we heard from Contractz when we listened into the comms, they've recognized the fights aren't working out. They've got to play this smarter. They've got to go about these objectives in a more intelligent, more coherent way. And speaking of objectives, not only Otacon, but now 5 seconds until the next dragon spawns. These are not high priority dragons with the state of the game. The first Drake was taken very late at 11 minutes. There's also a 1-to-1 split on those first 2, so nobody's close to a soul. I think if you're Shopify and you're going to grab the Otacon and trade it away for a single Cloud Drake, you're having a great time with that deal.
They're coming right now, so they don't want to just give this up, but it's going down in a hurry. Can 100 Thieves actually stop them?
Okay, Shopify have already got the Otacon down to about 3,000 HP. They need to finish it off before their opponents can get in and try to do anything about it, though. Contractz already taking the Otacon and a beautifully timed Realm Warp to avoid the post-objective fight.
Really, really nicely done from Shopify. That automatically bumps their petals now to 35, which makes that a great objective for them to focus on. And once again, they get the setup on the objective. 100 Thieves are on Drake, and therefore too slow to finish, and a great Realm Warp from Palafox to get them all out.
Plus, you know, it's amplifying all the ones that they already had, right? It's that 25% bonus that you get, more XP, more adaptive force. So now it is almost 30 adaptive force, plus all of the experience, nearly 900 experience across the entire team. That is a lot
I mean, it's twice as much as you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, despite how many petals they already had at that point. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got to be a little critical here of 100 Thieves for going after the Drake in a game state where it's really not that important with Otacon alive on the other side of the map.
I mean, it's been kind of the story of the game so far is that they are late to every one of these objectives, but they've been winning the fight. This time they were late to the objective, but they couldn't actually get the fight. They weren't able to stop the Realm Warp from going through. Maybe they could have won that fight and just kind of made it the same thing again, but you got to be there on time.
If you're 5 minutes late, it's problematic. If you're an hour late, you just missed the whole event. And that was the case there with the Otacon as Sniper is in some danger. Seo's leading the charge. The Hallowed Mist has already been used, and the CC is enough to lock him up, but not enough to guarantee the kill until Bvoy gets in there with a Dawning Shadow for the very last hit. Shopify Rebellion now with a full 5-man push here in the bottom lane onto the Tier 1 turret, and 100 Thieves with only 4 men to defend. They will not be able to protect this objective, and Shopify find themselves a move.
Yeah, big for Bvoy to be able to get it. Really nice collapse from Shopify, recognizing that, again, they can't get to Sniper on time, right? And it's really been Shopify ever since that first fight.
Palafox.
Palafox caught by a Zenith Blade. Yes, he's going to use the stasis to buy a little bit more time, but he flashes out of the way, and Contractz tries to protect him, but 100 Thieves just sends more men. Meanwhile, Shopify trying to get one back as River gets the reset of the ulti, but it's not enough to keep him alive. Fudge looking for an opportunity here, but no Gnar bar means no way for the fight to keep going. Maybe if he had a little bit more rage, he could have tried to jump in there, but there would have been no way to build it in time. 1 for 1 when the dust settles.
Yeah, and I mean, just as I was praising Palafox, I feel, he ends up dying. I still think Shopify have been doing a really good job of essentially forcing 100 Thieves into bad choices, but here we just see he gets caught out. Even though he flashes out of the Jhin ult, he's able to, he just goes down there, and then, yeah, Quid is going to end up coming in on the back half of this.
And it was just that ward that was in the brush there that actually spotted him. This blue ward right there, of course, it got turns off later as they dropped the pink on it, but that ward spotted Palafox walking over, and that's why Eyla was positioned so aggressively, immediately flashed on him. Not only do they get him down, they get the stasis off, right? He does not have a Zhonya's. He had just bought that arm guard, so he's a ways away from actually completing the Zhonya's and getting that thing active once again. So it's a very big pick.
Very big indeed. We'll see if they can punish that before he completes his Hourglass purchase entirely. And remember, if you want to watch the finals with a crowd, but you're not in LA, we got some good news. LTA North is partnering up with Regal Cinemas to bring the finals to a big screen. Scan the QR code on your screen today to get your tickets and watch with a bunch of other LTA fans. Who knows? Maybe one of these teams can fight their way up there. It is a long journey from the lower bracket to make your way to the finals. It is obviously still doable, and hopefully we get to see some more intense fights on the path there.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I'm a little bit surprised to see a second Black Cleaver for Shopify. Contractz grabbed that instead of Hysterics is a bit of a question mark to me. And Baron has been started, and they know about it.
Okay, let's see if Shopify can get in there and make this fight happen. 100 Thieves immediately turning off the objective to go for the fight itself, but a nice Dawning Shadow over the top from Bvoy. Looking to keep those Shopify Rebellion health bars protected. Contractz already down, but he's the only one. Seo's isolated from the rest of the team as River goes for the ulti reset to look to finish him off. A little bit more damage will do it, but he can't quite find it as Fudge jumps forward, chasing after Sniper and Quid, who are both almost dead, and Palafox is going to grab the kill on the enemy mid laner. Eyla and FBI isolated back in the river as Sniper tries to find his escape route. He might just be able to sneak his way out, and he'll cut Seo's down on the way. River continues running, and Fudge continues chasing. The last Q doesn't find him in the air, and River might just escape over the wall. That dog is running all the way home as a bloody battle ends with Quid being traded away for Contractz and Seos.
Man, that is so frustrating for Fudge. And he wasn't there at the start of the fight. He didn't have his TP. That's why they forced the play, because they saw him down on the bot wave. He was in Mega with no TP. He's running up to try to actually join here, but 100 Thieves are just preempting the play. They go immediately in. They catch Seos and Contractz, but Palafox and Bvoy were in pretty good position here, so it allows the fight to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing here is just watch Palafox and Fudge, right? Because Bvoy is able to kind of free hit on the back half of this. Palafox repositions himself up at the top, and he survives. Again, Ryze is so tanky at this point. He survives for so long, and then unfortunately isn't able to get onto Sniper, because then Sniper kills Seos on the backside of this.
And how annoying is Naafiri? The dogs block the hook,
So
and then he's
annoying.
just hopping over every
Naafiri?
single wall.
Guys, just don't split up. Play together. Go right.
Yeah, just trying to call out the targets in the fight. But Naafiri ended up not really being the right choice, and they probably could have killed Sniper guaranteed. You know, they could have maybe gotten some of those easier chase down kills, but I think they thought they were going to get both. As Fudge here, not with the ideal Mega Gnar timing, as the Dragon is there. He's going to have to wait for that to be ready to charge up once more.
All right, let's see it. We've got a standoff here for the next Drake. 100 Thieves at 2, Shopify at 1. 100 Thieves with that 2,000 gold lead, but the adaptive force from all of the flowers for Shopify essentially nullifies it. Seos, the most forward of the Shopify side. Fudge has no Gnar bar at all. He needs to charge this up a lot faster than it's currently going, as Sniper has already used the Hallowed Mist, and now Seos ready to re-engage. Sniper is locked up here from the front line, going to buy a little bit more time with the stasis of his own as River barely gets away. The Drake is claimed by Contractz. Nobody's dead so far as Palafox and Contractz try to go in, but they've only delivered themselves into doom, or have they? Fudge is ready to go to follow it up as Sniper barely stays alive with the Mist, trying to get back away. Palafox staying alive here once again with a nice use of the hourglass, but now he's going to get shot to pieces. The curtain call has opened wide. A triple kill back over to FBI as there's 3 dead on both sides.
FBI, open up. He gets a triple there. Fudge, though, looked like he had a perfect opportunity to get a big Mega Gnar on multiple people. Didn't actually get the ult off before he died. I'm not sure if he just got stunned or something by Eyla as he went down and he couldn't actually get it off. But that looked like that was going to be a massively winning fight when he jumped in on multiple members there, but just couldn't make it happen. And now it's up to Bvoy here to try to stop FBI and River, who are low, and Seos is coming.
All right, Seos on the way. FBI and River, they do the Baron slowly, but they're not willing to back away here just yet. Bvoy and Seos making their way forward. The Baron's down to 3,000. River and FBI are getting dangerously close to this objective, and Bvoy and Seos are not close enough to try to stop it. The Baron secured by 100 Thieves.
Yeah, really nice Baron taken from 100 Thieves. I actually thought, to your point, Azael, the previous fight we were looking at was going to go so poorly for them. And I am curious to see how this Drake fight ends up happening. Because I thought he was in really good position. And again, I was about to start talking about how, look at how tanky this Shopify lineup ends up being. Look at how much damage and healing Bvoy is going to be able to create from the back line and kind of chase them off objectives.
So right here, they do go in. Contractz is taken down. Now Fudge is about to make out right there. Right? Where's the ulti?
The stun. Yep. It was the stun from Unraveled Earth.
Yep, he gets stunned from the Unraveled Earth as he goes forward. Didn't have the opportunity to be able to get that off. At that moment, I was thinking they slam this fight. It's going to be their fight. It's going to be their Baron. But he gets stunned by the Unraveled Earth. FBI is able to pick up multiple kills and turn it around.
Copy.
Oh.
The River reaction is
no
great,
words needed.
I love River so much. He's so funny.
Oh my God!
Look at that damage.
8,400 damage. And that's not the game, by the way. That's one team fight.
That was exactly why there were 3 kills for 100 Thieves, and they were all FBI getting it done.
And now he has 4 full items, by the way. So now he's got the IE and the LDR already completed here. He is looking incredibly strong. Well, Bvoy still doesn't have that IE on his build, and he's kind of still on these like mosquito items with the Shiv and the rapid fire.
4 full items, 4 kills.
I knew you were going to say
Last time did 4 damage, the equivalent of 2,000 times in that team fight.
Okay,
this is the ideal world.
Let's do some math.
To be a Jhin player.
I know,
How are you turning the 3 kills from the fight into the 4?
Yeah.
Well, it's because there's 4 on his screen. He's got 4 kills total. The earlier one was just a down payment. See, it was the prologue, and that was the overture. I don't know what overture actually means. I'm just trying to use Jhin words. As
They're
Shopify,
kind of the same thing.
Shopify, don't worry about it, him. Just don't worry about it. We've got a 5,000 gold lead now for 100 Thieves, though, and Shopify are starting to sweat a little bit, I would have to think.
Oh, yeah. I think they've been sweating. After that last fight, I think things are looking really, really bad. It looked like it was going to go their way. Then they lose the fight. Then they lose the Baron. It is so tough now, the position that they are in. And you look where the gold is. It is a massive lead in the jungle. It's going on a 3,000 gold lead. 2.7K there for River. I do think his Naafiri is amazing, and FBI is so rich at this point.
And honestly, it's not been a great game for Contractz, right? The Xin Zhao 0-6-4 hasn't been involved in a lot, has not been able to do nearly as much as River has. And we know that historically, Shopify and even previous instances of just these players playing together, like when you think back to the Energy roster that everybody had all that beloved moment for with their Worlds run, the fact that they need Contractz to pop off, like he's such an engine for the team, that when he has a game where he's not effective that much early on, you end up with situations like this. Now he's getting jumped on again, but he does a nice job disengaging. Fudge with a two-man Mega Gnar into the wall as Shopify may have found a moment to get there and engage. Eyla and River are looking to run away as FBI's down to 200 HP, but he's got the range to still contribute to the fight. Palafox in a 1v2 up on the north half of things as Ayla's going to get dropped, but 100 Thieves scramble to look to take down the Ryze. Bvoy nearly gets one shot by the fourth shot as Sniper and Quid are in a 2v4. Contractz looks for Wind becomes lightning, but he won't be able to find it. 2 dead Thieves, 1 dead Rebel. For how that fight started, 100 Thieves got off easy.
I feel like we might be in for a long one based on these compositions because it does seem like every time, like, right, 100 Thieves think they will be able to get in onto Contractz here, end up isolating him, but he ends up getting out. And again, I can't stress enough how much Senna and Ryze are going to be able to do in these fights. Fudge finally gets a really nice Gnar on the back half of this, but I mean, it's just really tough
This 4-shot
to
damage.
see. Oof, there goes all of Bvoy's health. It is so tough to see a really clean team fight. All coaches are going through it.
Golden Blue's really going through it there, man.
That's the real head-to-head here. That's the real matchup. Is Shopify Coach Cams versus 100 Thieves Coach Cams. They're all
the best.
So animated all the time.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And this is something we want to talk about. You know, Fudge, was it a snub that he didn't actually make All-Pro? Impact did win third team. Fudge was my vote for third team. I think, you know, he really did have a very good split. But it's sometimes harder when you're on these lower-ranked teams to actually get that recognition, to get that attention that it takes to get in onto All-Pro. The earlier weeks for him were a lot weaker, and I think that's something that is going to stick out in people's minds. But he has been playing very consistently for the squad and has really been a bright spot. And it had been a while. You know, Fudge had kind of gotten knocked out of the league. You know, he was playing in this kind of like sub role or facilitating role for C9, where he wasn't actually playing on the roster anymore. He is now back in the league and trying to build up his name for himself.
We'll see both teams kind of posturing around the Baron area before it sets up. I think the key thing for me is actually also going to be this fourth
Cloud Soul
Drake fight. Yeah, right? Because Shopify are on Soul Point. Cloud Soul for them would be amazing.
So speaking of souls, I'm going to check in again because Bvoy's count is just not there. 100 souls for Senna at 36 minutes into the game is not a ton, as now Seos might be caught out here. Nice solar flare lands, and that secures the kill on the support right as Baron spawns. Now Shopify are staring down the barrel of a 4v5 against a 100 Thieves team that really wants the objective. Quid's going for an early recall. Oh no, Contractz! That could be a fatal mistake as everybody on 100 Thieves dives in. And with the jungler dead, there is no hope on Summoner's Rift for Shopify Rebellion to contest this Baron. That's going to the Thieves.
Yeah, the Thieves are going to grab another Baron, and with this already massive gold lead, it's going to be so difficult for Shopify to even have a realistic chance at the next Dragon now. That was a really big play for them. 7,000 ahead now. They can really try to force their advantage, clean off this last tier 2 from the map, and look to threaten these inhibitors.
Yeah, we'll see how much map pressure we're able to create as we see Seos is going to end up getting caught out here. And yeah, immediately the rest of the team, like Bvoy and Palafox, are already moving away. And then Contractz is also going to end up stepping forward. And I do like what 100 Thieves do here, right? Like they're playing with fog, they're making it really difficult, and then Contractz ends up getting killed.
And I think one of the overlooked things, and sometimes in these situations, is the fact that their support got picked off. I don't think they had wards to drop over the wall there because Seos was dead. They couldn't actually see the Baron. That's why Contractz is rushing that play. That's why Contractz is moving forward so quickly and gets caught because he doesn't know if they're just instantly burning the Baron or not. Felt he had to get over there, gets caught, means the Baron does go down.
Okay, 7,000 gold lead for 100 Thieves as they'll force down the tier 2 turret here in the top lane. That is all 6 turrets outside the base of Shopify Rebellion, claimed by 100 Thieves. They've got the Baron for the next almost 2 minutes to try to siege these tier 3s. You can see that one there in mid lane, down to about 1/3 health now as Fudge tries to move up, deal with these cannon minions, get those out of the way. The rest of the Rebels scrambling to try to find some sort of an opportunity here as Eyla and River just move through the enemy jungle, make sure that they're ready to assist either top or mid lane as FBI keeps the wave pushed up in top side. Solar Flare lands there onto Bvoy, but it's not going to do a whole lot more. Seos in the front line as immediately Palafox and Contractz try to come in with the Realm Warp. They want the damage on the FBI. They need a little bit more to find it, but they aren't quite going to get him. Finally, it lands and FBI is shut down. 2 kills over to Shopify Rebellion thanks to the Realm Warp onto the AD carry. Fudge wants more. Looking for Quid here with a Mega Gnar into the wall. Quid tries to flash, but it doesn't get enough distance. Nice positioning from Fudge to make it a 3-for-0.
And those last kills are actually so big because there's no TP on Quid, and he's not going to be up for the Dragon now, which could mean a potential soul here for Shopify. And if you give over that Cloud Soul, that amount of movement speed is so impactful. It's the highest win rate soul in solo queue. I think it is insane in pro, especially when you have a champion like Senna now this fed. And finally, Bvoy is really starting to rack up a lot of these souls. You know, is up to 114. He's already at 850 range with the rapid fire, 700 without. He's about to hit another benchmark. Yes, he didn't have the greatest pace for how he's picking up these souls, but it kind of doesn't matter. When you get this late in the game, you hit a certain amount of range. It's just so hard to interact with the Senna.
Infinite scaling is infinite scaling.
Yep.
Once you hit a certain point on the clock, man, it's just like, all right, we're still in there. And you know what? Shopify Rebellion will happily collect that Cloud Soul for themselves. We're still in it for either one of these teams being able to win this game.
60 minutes to dream.
Yeah. It's, you know, that 52-30 mark for 4 games in a row, it's seeming a bit more realistic as the clock marches forward. But it is still an advantage here. 400. Well, actually, no. I don't think it is. I'm gonna take that back.
The Autogon Flowers plus the Soul, I think it's actually in stats, like actual real power. Shopify's ahead.
Soul's worth on average like 4,000 gold. The Flowers are worth way more than 1,000 with the amount that they've collected. Yeah, I'm with you.
I think they're actually definitely in a winning spot now. The question is, can they actually execute on it and close it out? Because Shopify has been in great spots so many times. But this last fight, it was all about the catch onto FBI. They're able to get into the back line. Palafox goes in, gets a Rune Prison down, gets some damage out, uses the stasis to stay alive, and buys time for everyone to pile in. We're back to live. We're fighting.
Done. Fudge trying to get away here at Sniper. Jumps in, but now we've got a bit of a problem here on the front line as Seos is taking some damage. FBI under pressure from Contractz as he goes into the back line looking for the carry. Seos is down to Quid, but now you got a problem as FBI has already lost his Guardian Angel, and everybody on Shopify is into the back line. A lot more damage on the Sniper, looking to take him low, but he ain't gonna die just yet because he's going Golden Fudge with a nice wallop to permanently kill FBI this time. But it's River and Eyla making the fight happen. Fudge and Bvoy cannot scramble enough. The dog is barking, and he chows down on Shopify Rebellion. River's the hero of the day, and 100 Thieves is going to the base.
There's 40 seconds. It's just 2 of them, but can they actually end? We'll see how much they're going to go for. At the very least, they're going to get double inhib. The question is, do they think they can try to go for the end? They're not actually protecting the cannon, so I think they're just going to go for double inhib. They're not going to likely try to end this, but that is still a massive fight. They kill Bvoy, they get his GA, they kill him again from a position here where we were just talking about Shopify being in control. Palafox realm warping Fudge into the backline, getting a Mega Gnar on 2-3 members. It looked like it was all going their way, but River is making some magic happen here with Eyla.
Look at Rivers. Look at this.
I mean, and Ayla's the second highest individual gold lead as well.
This is their gold lead.
Even though it was just River and Eyla alive at the end, that's a 7,000 gold lead in support and jungle put together. River really salvaging that fight. Both AD carries having Guardian Angels, losing those Guardian Angels and rezzing back. Let's take another look at this chaotic fight.
Yeah, this fight was crazy. I mean, it starts with the Sex Flash over the wall there. They are looking for Fudge, but he flashes out as Sniper's going forward. And then I love this use of the Realm Warp from Palafox and Fudge. He gets him in, catches multiple members there. Quid gets stunned up. Quid is in such a difficult position here that you're thinking, surely Bvoy is just going to clean up this fight. But then Bvoy, I just felt like got overconfident, runs straight into melee range of Sniper, trying to hit the back line. Sniper comes out of the stasis, gets so much damage down onto him that as he comes out of the GA, he's just finished off again. And Bvoy really compromised his positioning to try to get that last auto onto FBI. He just needed to play it slow.
Can you guys hunt?
I think we can.
Yeah, you guys can hunt. Nice, guys.
28.
You guys.
All right, you guys can end.
Maybe not quite ending. Maybe not quite. Also, you could see the frustration on Revan's face there from that situation that they were in. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. We're a family-friendly show here most of the time, as we do have a Baron claimed without any sort of resistance from Shopify. It's 100 Thieves owning those purple colors here yet again, and we'll see what they can do with this push. Because hey, the Dragon, it's not around for quite a while here, so we're still going to have to see exactly how this plays out.
Wow.
As it is FBI topping the charts, but look how much is there from River. That is honestly really impressive. River is actually out-damaging all 4 solo laners in this game.
All right, 100 Thieves. They're looking like they might potentially want their victory push here. They've already got these 2 inhibitors down. Bottom lane tier 3 turret does not have minions close by. So 100 Thieves, they can only find 2 points of pressure right now. Sniper is currently that split threat that we were talking about all the way back in draft. But he could be in not a great spot right now. Hallowed Mist is going to guarantee that Palafox can't put him in the Rune Prison, as 100 Thieves is going to wait for that next empowered minion wave here in mid. Maybe deciding that there's not really enough power to hard force this. They may just have to regroup and go bottom.
Well, now they're sending Quid, down to catch that bot wave because they don't have any minions to try to take that bot inhib turret. And we'll see if 100 Thieves are actually able to close this out. Because every time I feel like they're in a good position, I'm like, okay, surely 100 Thieves win from here. Shopify end up winning the fight. Every time Shopify are in a good position, especially with this composition, 100 Thieves end up getting a pick onto them, but I think 100 Thieves should be in control of their own destiny here.
Oh, immediately Quid gets jumped on. Palafox finds a ton of damage, but the stasis is going to protect Quid long enough for him to flash back over the wall and somehow stay alive. Shopify still scrambling to find a little bit more damage as Contractz finishes off the mid laner. But what about the rest of the fight? Contractz looking to keep himself alive back into the base now as River continues the chase. Palafox gets out of the stasis just in time for Seos to block the shot, and then Realm warps them both away to safety. No kills there for FBI's curtain call. It's just the pick onto Quid to slam the brakes on the 100 Thieves Baron push.
And we're getting to this point where Senna becomes a moving tower, right? Like, you are at 740 range without your rapid fire up. You're at almost 900 range with that rapid fire active. It becomes so difficult to actually position effectively and to be able to play out the fights in a normal way. You know, Bvoy really should have won that previous fight, but he mispositioned. He made a mistake. But if he plays well and positions well, I think almost regardless of what happens with items and gold from here, it kind of just doesn't matter because you're getting to this point where you're in 1v9 territory at 150 stacks.
Oh, immediately Seos, though, going in for the engage. That is a massive, massive catch. That is FBI. That is the strongest player on 100 Thieves, reduced to a pile of bones and blood as Shopify Rebellion see the Elder Dragon spawning in the bot side river.
A pile of bones and blood, and now they're going to try to make the dragon a pile of bones and blood. As this Elder Drake plus Cloud Soul, like, nothing should beat this composition at this point in the game.
Palafox isn't here.
Shopify Rebellion starting it up. Palafox may not be around, but he's ready to teleport into the fight now as a bunch of damage. Once again, onto a valuable member as Sniper is down. Eyla will be the next to fall. Shopify Rebellion have a 5v2. They're going to secure the Elder Dragon and then begin their push. FBI will be alive to stop them shortly, but Eyla and Sniper are both dead for the better part of a minute. There's no way for River to get anywhere close to this Elder Dragon. And let's go back about 60 seconds. It all started with Seos with the amazing catch into FBI to give Shopify a real shot at marching this in for the win.
I mean, now you're walking down here with an Elder and 156 stacks on the Senna. Senna is going to be just Q-autoing you for like 40-50% of your HP on squishy targets. It is going to be insanely hard to actually defend the base.
All right, Shopify with that push. Palafox coming down to join everybody else now. Remember that Ryze also with a Realm Warp. You can use this to end the game in a position that otherwise it might not seem like you can. We'll keep an eye on how he uses that, if he uses that. Shopify still with their push. It's 5 seconds until Eyla and Sniper are alive again. Fudge has just transformed back from Mega, but Shopify want to keep the pressure on. They know they have the Elder Dragon and they know how valuable that is. They don't want to overcommit into the Nexus turrets. They're going to have to wait for the next minion wave and it's about to march down mid.
All they need to do is just play around Bvoy. Just block for Bvoy, allow him to step forward and auto them, make sure they can't get engages onto him.
All right, the push continues. That first Nexus turret is about to die. Bvoy will take it down with the last auto attack, so now only one left. Solar Flare only connects onto Seos. That is not a good enough target when the enemy team has Elder. Fudge goes in for the Mega Gnar, but it's not very mega at all. Meanwhile, Sniper destroyed as Fudge collects the kill. Quid's gonna be the next to drop. Shopify Rebellion's killing everybody. It's River and FBI scrambling to try to get the fight back, but River is not strong enough. Not anymore. The Elder is the final execution, and Shopify Rebellion take game one.
Shopify Rebellion draw first blood in this best of 5. What a back and forth game. Both teams going to be coming out of that feeling like they should have been the one to win, but only Shopify walks away with the lead.
All right, what a battle for game number one. Let's head back over to the LTA Lounge to break that one down.